songs, the words are in here too. So we'll do this one.
Oh, there's a hold on a second. Would you step down?
Will you like point at it for a second? Will you just point at it for a second?
Yeah. So we're gonna do
Can we
that.
pull this out a little bit? So then, like,
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, it's a little tight. John, you have all that room. John, you have all the room.
Make sure the mom has enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here, John, now you have all that.
All right,
I
so we're
prefer
gonna
to be
see.
a falling.
you're also tall enough that you don't really
Yeah.
tricky.
Oh, wait.
next year you'll be a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, Jonah. I was.
Oh, guys, that's for the guitar. It's not for your hands.
Does that microphone work?
Yes, so people can hear you. People can hear you.
No, Dad.
Yes.
Can you speak into it?
So let's hold on for a second. So let's do. Do you want to do this one? This one. This one.
Can I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Everything's like all over the place. Can we
Here, I'll help.
let mommy do it just because mommy like lays it out.
This is the service stuff. So let's do.
Makes it a little bit clearer. And then that's it. Super.
Let's do this one.
What time?
It's time. Shirka.
Jenica.
I said 2 minutes in Hebrew. I wasn't shushing.
That's not what I thought you said.
No, I said shtei dakot. That means 2 moments.
That's not what I thought.
I know, that's
No,
why I
Mom.
repeated it.
I didn't think you said shush.
Oh, okay. I think I said Hanukkah.
No, I thought you said
What's the
one
words?
of the
Let's
words
have a
I
party
got
in A
wrong.
minor.
Mom, I thought you said I got one of those words wrong.
No, of course
You
not.
said them.
Not that fun of a party.
It's gonna be a soulful
With only grandparents
and a little bit of sadness
and
and
maybe the
no
weird,
sodium.
and maybe
sodium.
that weird uncle who always brings
it's
knockoff
Hanukkah.
soda.
Oh, we're wearing blue.
Soda.
Knockoff soda.
All right, Alpers, are we ready for this?
Gentlemen and ladies.
All right, Shabbat Shalom and Happy Hanukkah, everyone. So we are going to start tonight with some Hanukkah songs. And if you came and got one of the Hanukkah bags from TI, there's a song sheet in there. If you do have your prayer book at home or you are looking at the one online, you can find our Hanukkah songs on 364 and 365. And tonight we are going to start, we're going to do a few just to get us all in the mood. So we're going to start with Oh Hanukkah, right?
Is that this one?
Uh-huh. Oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. Sevivon to play with and latkes to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed their sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night, they shed their sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Beautiful. Now, if you happen to have the prayer book with you, you will actually notice that there is the Yiddish of that. Rabbi Michael and I were trying it before and kind of did not do very well. So
is it
Sarah Jane and
traditional?
all of our Yiddish speakers, we hope you'll help with
Is
that.
it traditionally dreidel or Sivivot?
Oh, that's a great question. So dreidel is Yiddish and Sevivon is in Hebrew. So should we sing that one? Which one do we want to do? Dreidel or Sevivon first? Should we do dreidel maybe?
Dreidel.
All right, dreidel is not in there, but this one you probably heard before. I had a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, a dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, a dreidel I shall play. It has a lovely body with legs so short and thin. And when it gets all tired, it drops and then I win. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh, dreidel, 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 then dreidel I shall play. Beautiful. I know. You know, the words are very silly because why would a dreidel have legs? I've never really understood that.
Hey, anything's possible.
Isn't the
sense?
top? Well,
Said
isn't
then.
I feel
It's
like
Hanukkah.
Season of
the
miracles.
bottom is just
Egg,
basically
not
everything, and then
Even
the
dreidels
top
can have
that
legs.
you
This is
spin
probably-
with is like his arms slash legs, maybe.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Or
It's,
head.
It's
Very
cat,
retractable.
not
an
had.
anthropomorphic one. So, all right. So maybe we'll do one more before we begin. So let's do. This is Mount Tzur, or Rock of Ages, and this is one that if you were on our Hanukkah Zoom call last night, you heard me say that my family, our tradition is that we only really remember the first few words in Hebrew. So if you don't know the Hebrew, that's okay. You can always make them up or just sing however you like to sing it with us. Ma'ot Tzur Yeshuati L'chanai L'shabeach Tikon Beit Tefilati V'sham Toda Nizabeach Le'etzachin Matbeach Misam Nabeach Azigmor B'Shir Mizmor Hanukkah HaMizbeach. Let's do it in English and see if it's easier. Rock of Ages, let our song praise thy saving power. Thou amidst the raging foes wast our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but thy nerve availed us, and your word broke their sword when our own strength failed us. Beautiful. Now we are going to put a challenge out to you that you may have noticed that actually some of the members of the cast of Hamilton took this challenge this year, but clearly the world needs some more Hanukkah songs. So my friend, by next year, we hope that some of the songwriters amongst you will help us with some new Hanukkah songs, because most of these Hanukkah songs have been around for a very, very, very long time. So, but we are going to move now into our candle blessings, and when you're lighting your candles tonight, one of the things we remember is that the Hanukkah candle blessings come first. And a cool sort of teaching is that the blessing for the Hanukkah candles was actually even created before the blessing for the Shabbat candles. The rabbis came up with this. So yeah, so you're going to do the matches. Or would you like for me to do the matches and then you do the shamash? Okay. How about I'll do this? Okay. I know, you can do the next one. All right, so when we're lighting the Hanukkah candles, we do however many nights of Hanukkah it is, but first we light the shamash. So Molly, do that. That's the helper one. That's the tall one. Perfect. Okay. And then you're going to take that one and light the other two. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem ba'azman hazeh. Beautiful. And now we can light our Shabbat candles after doing our special Hanukkah ones, thanking God for having made miracles. All right, and for this one, unlike with the Hanukkah candles, since this one is our marker in between a time of work and a time of rest, we can cover our eyes to sort of create that magic moment between those two times. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik Shel Shabbat. Beautiful. And then why don't we take our Kiddush cups? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
L'chaim. L'chaim.
It's
Shabbat
sparkly,
shalom.
yeah. And then even though on Hanukkah it is our custom to eat all sorts of foods that are cooked in oil, like latkes and sufganiyot, jelly donuts, you still get to have challah on Shabbat. So thank you, Mora Diane, for both our latkes and our beautiful challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Beautiful. And we're doing all these special blessings tonight in honor of Wolfie Tudor, who's becoming a bar mitzvah tomorrow. Can't wait to celebrate with you. All right, so I think that is just regular sweet challah, yeah? Beautiful. Now we're going to do our blessings over our children.
Yisimcha Elohim k'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May God bless you to be like Ephraim and Menashe, who helped us flourish when we were in Mitzrayim.
Yisimech Elohim k'Sara, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. May God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And then together. Yavarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai p'nav v'yichunecha.
May there be light in your homes and your places of dwelling all throughout the earth, O people of Israel, and may God help you to light those spaces.
May God's presence always be with you, and may you find wholeness and peace. Shabbat shalom. Happy Hanukkah. I love you. I know.
Thanks, superstars.
So we're going to continue now with our service, and we'll call each other to worship by singing the words of the Baruch Hu. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. We take just a few moments to think now of the oneness of God, of the idea that each of us is together, one community, one world, all under our one God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto La'olam Va'ed. So the great heroes of the Hanukkah story, of course, are the Maccabees. And we're taught that the word Maccabee means hammer, but there's also a teaching that says that Maccabee is not really a word after all, but really what Maccabee is an acronym for what the Maccabees used to shout when they went into battle. And they would say, Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, the same thing that Moses and the Israelites said as they were crossing the sea. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, God, among all the gods who are worshipped. So we sing our Michamocha, thinking of all the heroes throughout the ages who have praised our one God. Michamocha, Bailim Adonai, Michamocha, Nedor B'Kodesh, Norati Lot, Oseh Feleh, Norati Lot, Oseh Feleh, Michamocha, Bailim Adonai, Michamocha, Nedor B'Kodesh. Later on in our service, we'll talk a little more about the meaning of Hanukkah and the story behind Hanukkah. But we know that really so much of the real historical story of Hanukkah is about war, is about fighting. And the rabbis of our tradition, though they knew that that was true, they did not want to glorify that fact, because they knew, as we all know, that in the end it is not war that we seek, it is always peace. And so tonight we sing Shalom Rav, praying for peace, a peace that is in our time, that lasts throughout the ages. Shalom Rav, God, bring us peace. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Ki ata melech Adon, Lachol Shalom. Ki ata melech Adon, Lachol Shalom. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Kov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael, bechol eit ubechol shah, bishlomecha. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim La'olam. At this time, even though it is a season of joy, we know that there are so many people who are still ill. We know that our hospitals are filled. We know that so many of our homes are filled with people who are sick. And so we take a few moments to think of all of them, praying that they will be able to get the healing that they so badly need, and that we all so badly need to help this world get right again. So tonight, we're thinking of Charles Beach, we're thinking of Jerry Krause and Meredith Berkowitz, of Tyler Testa. We're thinking of Arlene Alper, of Jack Oglander, of Liza, and of Max. We're thinking of David Mills and of Myrna Cohn. We're thinking of Cheryl Brickman and of Jacob. We're thinking of all of you who are in need of healing prayers for you and for us. We sing our Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor Bracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Ose shalom b'imromav, Ase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom b'imromav, Ase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. So I would like to venture a guess that everyone who is watching, participating in this service tonight, whether you are Jewish yourself or you're part of a Jewish family or you have Jewish friends or even just you're checking it out because you know a little something about Judaism, my guess is that each and every one of you has probably been asked at some point what Hanukkah is all about. And there's a good reason for that, and it's not just because Hanukkah is so close to Christmas and people are curious, it's because that Hanukkah is a little bit of a confusing holiday. Now, for those of you who remember back a few weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, you may remember that back then I talked a little bit about what I would call the real story of Hanukkah, the story that is as factual and historical, I suppose, as we can get. And that's the one that I talked about earlier as well, that really talks about the war of the Maccabees and the Seleucid Greeks. And to know about this history, you can go and you can look in the books of Maccabees, you can read the works of Josephus, but chances are, if you've been asked to talk to a colleague or to teach a class of children about Hanukkah before, chances are that is not the story you told. You probably did not go in and read the book of Maccabees. In fact, I hope you didn't because it's very violent, but really you probably talked about miracles and lights because that's what we focus on when it comes to Hanukkah. And that part of the story, which is also true, we could say, that part of the story comes from the Talmud, and it comes from just one sentence. The sentence goes like this. It says that when the hands of the Hasmoneans were made strong and they defeated the Greeks, they checked in the temple and they found only one jar of oil sealed with the mark of the high priest, which remained undefiled, and there was only enough in it to last for one day. A miracle occurred, and they lit the temple lamps for 8 days. That's it. That's the entire story. Just one sentence about miracles and lights, but this is the story that the rabbis of our tradition held on to, and it makes sense that they did, because this is a time of year wherever and whenever you are in history or in the world where things are dark and they're starting to get cold. And this is a time when we need light and miracles now more than ever before, and especially, I think, this year. So what I wanted to talk about tonight is both the miracle that we find in this story, but also the other miracle of the Hanukkah story, which is one which I would imagine you have missed. The first miracle, the one we all know about, it needs a little bit of explanation because you can tell the story from the Talmud, it's really a little bit dry. It doesn't really sound all that miraculous or all that exciting. But you have to remember what had happened. I mean, they had been fighting a war. And in this war, many, many people had lost their lives. There were families who were missing loved ones. There were people who had been injured and who were still suffering from the war. There were people who had lost their livelihood. Everything was a mess. And then they went into their sacred temple. This temple, which was really the center of their whole world, where all of their most special and sacred acts happened, and it had been totally defiled and destroyed. And we have to remember that the ancient temple was a lot bigger than this one. And frankly, Temple Israel, this is a pretty big place. But the ancient temple was more like a campus of temples. It was a very, very large place. And so when we talk about the fact that it was dirty and defiled and there were statues everywhere and things have been thrown and broken and crashed, we can imagine it would have taken a very, very long time to be able to get that right again. And it couldn't be just anyone who could clean it up. They also had to have people who were very holy to do this work. And they must have looked around at all this destruction and thought, oh my God, how are we going to do this? What should we do first? And they decided their first act would be a symbolic one, that they would light their menorah, which was a candelabra. It didn't have the 9 like ours. It had 7 instead, 6 branches, and then a shamash in the middle one. And they had to use a very special kind of oil for it. They couldn't just use any sort of oil. It had to be this oil that had been blessed and sanctified by the high priest. And as the story goes, they decided symbolically to light this menorah. And miraculously, we know, the oil lasted not just for 1 day, which is what they expected, but for 8 days. And that is a miracle. And it is a miracle that we have to imagine could only have been brought about by God. But we know this story at the end. We know that it lasted for 8 days. But imagine what it would have been like to be one of those people on the ground, trying to clean the temple up again, trying to make everything whole, knowing that there was so much destruction around them. And every day they must have woken up and thought, how am I going to get through this day? Is the oil going to last another day? They would not have expected it. They would have been worried and fearful. They would have been working so hard to get things right. What do you think happened on the 9th day? Because that, my friends, that I think is when the second miracle must have occurred, the one we never really think about. Because while we know that many of the Jewish people, they were there and they were getting the temple set right again, it couldn't have been everyone. So what were the rest of the Jewish people doing? Well, some of them must have been working very hard just to stay out of the way and not cause more trouble. But some of them would have been going out to get reinforcements. Some of them would have been going out to the wider world and be able to get help. Some of them would have been going out to desperately try and find more of that sacred oil. And we don't know where they went, and we don't know from whom they got it, but we do know that somehow on that 9th day, a messenger must have returned with enough oil to be able to keep that light lit. It must be that that light continued to be lit so that they could do the continual work of rededicating, that's what Hanukkah means, of rededicating the temple and making it whole again. It would have taken longer than 8 days, and it would have required another kind of miracle altogether. Maybe not a miracle of God, but a miracle of people who just wanted to do anything they could to help and make things better. So friends, here we are. We are here and we have been battling our own kind of war these past months, a war against an invisible enemy. And here we are, and we're actually getting to this place where it seems like maybe the enemy is about to be defeated. We now know the tools, the weapons that we need to be able to use against COVID, to be able to see that this war is going to be over. But still, we look at our community and we see the ways in which it is devastated. We see that there are still so many people who need help. And we know, you and I, that not all of us can directly help them. That we're going to need those doctors and those nurses who are working tirelessly actually tirelessly is not the right word, is it? Because we hear from our doctors and nurses that they are tired. They are tired, yet still they are working so incredibly hard day and night to be able to do everything they can to clean up the mess that is our community, to clean up the mess of all of these people who are ill. Now that's God's work. And that is God stepping in, trying to do everything God can to help them make those miracles. But now, what about us? What about the rest of us who are not doctors and who are not nurses and who are not frontline workers? Isn't there still something we can do? We can be the ones who make that second kind of miracle happen. We can be the ones who bring in the reinforcements, the ones who stay out of the way so that they can do the work, making sure that we wear our masks and do our best not to stay sick so that we aren't taking up those hospital beds. We can be the ones who are using whatever power and influence we may have to be able to turn things around for the good, to talk to our government officials, to get doses of the vaccine, to get people continuing to wear those masks, to do everything we can to protect our community and our country. We can be that second group of miracle makers. Let us bring in the reinforcements. Let us who are not able to do that hard work of cleaning the temple, of helping those most desperately in need, let us still be the ones who can make a miracle happen. We can make miracles happen this season of lights, my friends. So we give thanks to all of those who make miracles happen every day, to our doctors and our nurses and our frontline workers who are working so hard to be able to defeat this enemy. And for the rest of us, let's do our part. Together, we will make a miracle occur. You know, it is a tradition, actually, that on Hanukkah, one of the things you are not supposed to do is mourn. And it seems like a strange sort of tradition, and it's supposed to teach us, really, that this is a joyous time. But we know that sometimes mourning cannot wait. And so we are thinking of those many members of our community who have lost loved ones this week, and our heart goes out to them in sympathy as we recall their names. Arthur Bassett, Henry Fisher, Erwin Toddy Goldman, Linda Cohn Cleathermas, Lloyd Schultz, Angela Miller, Alex Toledo, Teresa Toledo. We now recall the names of those, the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation and on the wall of honor for a perpetual memorial. Ida Arkin, Lloyd Myron Arkin, Bertha Aronson, Julius Baer, Molly Gelb Davis, Victoria Rose Dreyer, Harold Dubinsky, Elizabeth Eisman, Edith Morgan Frank, Noel Frankel, David T. Friedman, Irma Gurchin, Lillian Kohani Glick, Nathan Graceman, Samuel F. Hacker, Mark Hendon, Dr. Nathan Hirschberg, Louis Hurwitz, Elliot A. Jacobs, Saul Kaplan, Molly Kay, Robert Klein, Molly Tannenbaum-Cohn, Sarah Latman, Louis Levy, Benjamin Liberman, Samuel Lowenstein, Harry Meyer, Selma Cohnmeyer, S. Farrell Miller, Charlie D. Miller, David Pasternak, Rosalind Mahler-Puffles, Jacob Rabin, Annabelle Rittenbaum, Ida Rosenberg, Ben William Sanders, Dr. Jacob Shermer, Philip Schiffer, Stanley Reese Schuchat, Marguerite Friedman Schwartz, Teresa Schwartz, Jack Schumann, Richard Sosna, Donald Steele, Sherwin Bud Steinberg, Sadie Fraley Sticks, Harry Tenenbaum, Robert Warshaw, Rachel Wasserman, Ulysses C. Weinstock, Charles Werner, Oscar Wildman. With these names and the names that we keep in our hearts, we join in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divarach rute v'yamlich malchote, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'ama v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. have one last Hanukkah song. And to continue the theme that we spoke of earlier, this is maybe not the world's greatest song. I know some of you love it. It's maybe not our favorite, but there is not that many good Hanukkah songs out there, and we can't sing the Adam Sandler one. So this is a little Peter, Paul, and Mary, right?
I just want who the gentleman who does Walking in Memphis does. What's his name again? Mark.
No idea.
Leave it in the comments. But he does a mean Miles Sorry. Does Rock of Ages.
Oh, this is better than Monster.
Okay, all right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Sing along if you know it. Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when the right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. Light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Let the light go out and let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together with peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that's valued so highly that we keep it alive in that flame? What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry out they've not died in vain? We have come this far, always believing that justice would somehow prevail. This is the burden, and this is the promise. This is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. That is a great song.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah and Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you next week. A lot of words.
Happy Hanukkah, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.